I'm calling to order the regular board meeting of the CUSD Board of Education for April 10th, 2025. Welcome, everyone. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Trustee Zhao,
Here.
Trustee Chow,
Present.
Trustee Leong,
Here.
Trustee Manhattan,
Yep.
Trustee Liu.
Here. Okay, the next item is board agenda approval. Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
Thanks, Sylvia. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ava.
Of course.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Leong,
Aye.
Trustee Manhattan,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Okay, great. Moving on then, the item 2.1, public comment guidelines for the closed sessions. Do we have any public comments tonight?
Not on the closed session, no.
Okay, great. In that case, then I'm going to adjourn us to closed session. We'll be back at 6 p.m. All right. Good evening, everyone. We're gonna reconvene back to thank you. Thanks, everyone. We're convening back to open session for item 4. I don't have anything to report from closed session. We didn't finish, so we're going to go back to closed session at the end of this the open session here. So now we have item 5.1 flag salute, and I understand we have Yoon and Madeline here to lead us in the flag salute. So if you could come up to the podium, please. We're just okay.
Just Madeline.
Just Madeline today. All yours, Madeline.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good job. Thank you, Madeline. All right, the next for 5.2, we have a school presentation from Sedgwick. So welcome.
You guys can. Yeah.
Come on up. So please introduce yourselves and
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to introduce a few students that are representing Sedgwick Elementary this evening. They plan to share some highlights from our PBIS program and their experience at the Special Olympics event.
Hi everyone, my name is Matisse and I'm in 3rd grade at Sedgwick Elementary. This year, something really cool started at our school called Dolphin Dollars. They are all about helping us make Sedgwick a great place to learn and grow.
Hi, I'm Kritia and I'm a 5th grader. One of the best parts of PBIS and Dolphin Dollars is our school rules. They are super easy to remember. Be safe, be responsible, and be respectful. We hear them a lot in our school. They really help us know how to act in different places, like the classroom, the playground, and even the hallways.
That's right, Kritia. And when we show that we're being safe, responsible, respectful, we can earn something called a Dolphin Dollar. These are special little slips of paper that our teachers and other staff give out. I even saw my friend Adam get one recently. We were playing Foursquare, and even when he was out, he was a really good sport. That's being respectful, and he got a Dolphin Dollar for it.
Yeah, I remember one time when me and my friend were filling up our water bottles. We were taking turns and not making a mess, and our teacher came over and gave us a Dolphin Dollar because he said we were cooperating well. It felt really good to earn the Dolphin Dollar he gave us.
Our classmates collect all the Dolphin Dollars we earn. And the best part is when our class reaches a certain number, we can choose a reward. It can be something really fun, like a stuffed animal party, or even helping to choose a class pet. It makes us want to work together and follow the rules. My class has earned a movie party and extra time on Prodigy. It's a math learning game.
I think the Dolphin Dollars have really helped in my class. My class has earned a board game day and a movie day. Both days were equally fun, even when our teacher isn't right there. Like when I was a rainy day monitor, I suggested to give out Dolphin Dollars to the kids who were being safe and respectful while playing games inside. It felt really good to help the class earn the reward because the dolphin dollar I gave out counted as well.
For some kids, the prizes are a big motivator to follow the rules, but I think for everyone, it feels good to get positive feedback when you're doing the right thing. It makes you want to keep being safe, responsible, and respectful.
So PBIS and dolphin dollars are really helping Sedgwick be our best. By being safe, responsible, and respectful, we earn rewards for our class and make our school an even better place to be.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Sometimes when you are being safe, respectful, and responsible, they give out dolphin stickers as an acknowledgement. We would like to pass these out to you for your hard work.
Thank you.
All right. You can just rip it. Okay, you guys come on up. Yeah, you guys do it together. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Winston, and I'm in 5th grade at Sedgwick Elementary. This year, I had the amazing opportunity to be part of the Special Olympics program, and it was truly one of the best things I've ever done.
And I'm Elena. I'm in 4th grade at Sedgwick. When I first heard about helping out with Special Olympics, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But now, after being a part, I can tell you it was so much fun and I learned so much.
I was partnered with another 5th grade student at Sedgwick. We got to do all sorts of activities together, like soccer, bowling, and even some adapted basketball. At first, I was a little nervous about making sure I was helping the right way, but my partner was so enthusiastic and always had a big smile. We quickly became a team cheering each other on.
My partner was a 4th grader at Sedgwick, and he was incredible. We worked together on the obstacle course, and it was so cool to see how determined he was. Sometimes things took a little longer, or we had to do things a bit differently, but that didn't matter at all. What mattered was that we were doing it together and having a blast.
Being a partner in the Special Olympics taught me so much more than just how to play different games. It helped me understand that everyone has their own unique strengths and that we should celebrate those. My partner might do some things differently, but he is also really good at following the rules of the game. He taught me about being patient and really listening.
For me, the best part was seeing how happy my partner was to be participating. His excitement was contagious. It made me realize that everyone wants to feel included and have the chance to be a part of something special. It wasn't about who was the fastest or the strongest. It was about everyone trying their best and having fun together.
This experience really opened my eyes. I learned that even though someone might have special needs, they still have goals, dreams, and so much more to offer. It made me want to be a better friend to everyone and to always be understanding and supportive.
I agree. Being part of the Special Olympics wasn't just about helping someone else. It was about making a new friend and learning from them. It showed me that we all have things in common and that working together makes everything better. I hope more kids get the chance to be involved next year, and it's an experience you won't forget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Morvik, and I'd like to thank Mathis, Kuthia, Winston, Elena, and Madeline, of course, for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd like to get a photo with you, so if you wouldn't mind coming up, we're gonna line up with the photo with the board. The parents, if you want to take photos, please just go ahead. The next item, 5.3, is the April Classified Employee of the Month. So Mike, will you do the introductions?
Well, thank you. Okay, this is always a fun event. I saw that there's a lot of support out there today for this special employee. This employee is and I specialized at Lawson Middle School. And you were nominated by a whole slew of people, and I don't have time enough in the day to read all their names. But I will give you a little breakdown of Mylan and She works above and beyond every day to ensure that the students she works with are supported academically, socially, and emotionally. She goes out of her way to dig deeper into lessons and curriculum to better help the students complete their assignments, and will even create separate materials in her own time. Her calm demeanor is a comfort to everyone around her, and she's always ready to jump in and help out anywhere that is needed. Mylan is very kind, polite, soft-spoken, and has a very professional relationship with staff at Lawson. Mylan works with her students with care and pride and brings out the best in them. She spends time after work to study the students' material in order to best help them in their academics. She takes photos of the teacher's notes on the board, takes notes herself, reads books side by side with the BIs, and coordinates with her fellow IAs as well. She's always happy and willing to help. When out in the community, Mylan encourages the students in socializing with other students in special education and general education. She's a team player and an all-around good person. Mylan is an amazing person with full of enthusiasm and zest for life. It's a joy to meet her any day and exchange words with her and feel the positivity around her. She arrives early in the morning to begin the day with Tai Chi and radiate energy to others. The whole campus is appreciative of her. So let's put our hands together. All right. We're not done talking about you yet. I'm going to invite the principal of Lawson to come up here, Aaron, and say some more kind words about her.
Hey, everyone. I was beyond thrilled when I got the email letting me know that Meilon was going to be the classified employee of the month. There is not a person at Lawson that is more deserving for this award. She is the kindest, most flexible, hardworking IA. We have amazing IAs. There's a bunch of them here, so I don't want to get in trouble. But we do have amazing IAs, but Meilon has been with us for many, many years. She is currently working with our mild and moderate SDC students. She switched over from our resource students a few years ago. She will jump in and do any task you ask her to. Her students absolutely adore her, and she's got some hard kids, but they adore her and they respect her at the same time. And that is something that is truly special when you're talking about middle school students, because she's tough. She knows, they know, that she's there to support them, and she manages them with so much kindness and support, but they have to be respectful. They know no other way with her. So I just want to say congratulations, Meilon. We are so proud of you, and we are so blessed to have you at Lawson.
So, Meilon, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much. This award is really a first mention for me because working school district 25 years, I get a lot of support from the teacher and my coworker. They give, and school district give a lot of the training to improve me, so I can do my best for my skills. And I love Lawson. They really is the best of the world. Thank you, thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Meilon. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And on behalf of the board, thank you for your long 25 years of service. And you can see you have a huge fan club here. I have a few things for you. And we'd like to get a picture also with the board. So
Do you want the fan club too, Jerry? Do you?
Yeah, the fan club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for the recognition from our assembly member, Patrick Harris. So wanted to have this. Okay, moving along here on the agenda, the next item, 6.1 Superintendent's Report.
Thank you.
Superintendent Yao.
So I do have a couple items that I wanted to highlight and share some information on. So the first one is regarding our board policy 1320, which relates to school connected organizations. Following the passing of board policy that the board approved back in November, we recently engaged with our parent organization representatives to explain the policy and ensure compliance with its provisions. I do want to emphasize that the board policy 1320 does not involve the district collecting and redistributing school funds. Funds raised and donated to schools will remain at those schools. The collected data that we are asking for the organizations is solely for the purpose of formal Board of Education approval and recognition. We have listened to feedback from our parents. We had a meeting with them this afternoon. Staff met with them. And we'll add assurances to the administrative regulation to state that the district is not collecting and redistributing parent donated funds, nor will those funds affect district site allocations. These were two areas of concerns that the parents did express and shared their feedback. Additionally, based on feedback from parent leaders, we will extend the deadline for the organization form to the fall, and then with a shortened acknowledgement form that will be due later this spring, acknowledging the new board policy. This will allow them time to incorporate us more time to incorporate the feedback. It was a very, I think, a very healthy discussion today, and also provide the organizations more time to complete the form. We will then be very excited when we do get to present formally to the board for their approval of all of our parent organizations later in the fall. So I wanted to provide that quick update. The other one is that later tonight, we will be asking you, the board, to approve our memorandum of understanding. MOU is much easier to say. With our three employee unions, CEA, CSEA, and SEIU, that outlines a voluntary early retirement incentive for our full-time 6 hours or more employees. This incentive is structured to produce cost savings for the district over the next 5 years, which will aid in addressing budget deficits and reducing the need for any future staff and program cuts. Eligible employees considering retirement will have the choice of continued health care coverage or an annuity to supplement their retirement income. We have listened to staff feedback and recognize that our initial incentive options were not viewed as equitable for our long tenured and dedicated employees at CUSD. As a result, I'm very pleased to announce an adjustment to the incentive, extending the supplemental retirement eligibility option from employees age 65 with 10 years of service to offering it to employees age 60 and older with 10 years of service, while still building up cost savings for the district over the next 5 years. While we were not able to offer the savings to provide an option that specifically highlighted and recognized our longevity of our staff who have provided the dedication to this USD, I do hope that this is at least a minor adjustment in recognizing the dedication and time that they've served CUSD. Oops. The other one I wanted to do a quick update on, and I think this is, as we've been rolling out over the next couple of years, our K-3 class size reduction for 25-26 will be in full semi-implementation for the fall. We are moving forward with that, and the reduction is down to the 22-1. And if you remember, we had that contractual agreement when we worked collaboratively with CEA. We are excited to offer these smaller class sizes in order to support more personalized learning for our students. But we also have to acknowledge that there were some logistical complexities with this change at some sites, and it does mean a slight decrease in the number of students accepted into alternative schools through the lottery process for the first year or two of implementation. This is necessary due to the reduced class size limits and the continued commitment of a maximum of 4 classes per grade level at the alternative schools. So as we are implementing this, we're not losing students at the second, third, or first grade level. And so to get those to 22-1, we had to bring our kindergarten somewhat smaller. So the impact is slightly less number of kindergarten students being accepted in each year. That will it will be alleviated as we roll out the program. And then lastly, I wanted to end just on, I always want to take every moment to highlight our district priorities and our work with the Portrait of a Learner. And our focus remains on prioritizing our district priorities and the Portrait of a Learner 7 competencies. I think the district and the board have recently addressed significant challenges, reinforcing the paramount importance of our staff embodying a sense of belonging, fiscal responsibility, and global contributors. This entails recognizing and valuing every individual in our inclusive environment, creating a student-centered, sustainable budget, and considering the needs of our entire community. Collaborative efforts are crucial at this time, rather than fostering division. Through collective action, we can secure the resources and support needed to navigate future challenges. Just as we prepare our students, we must also embody these competencies to ensure our own preparedness for the future. And I want to leave with, I had the opportunity to visit Lincoln Elementary this morning to their TK. They were doing a showcase of their work surrounding the Portrait of a Learner. And this one just definitely struck my heart as they were talking about global contributors, and they were identifying what role they would like to have in the future and how to contribute. And this young man wants to be a science teacher, but he went even further when he drew himself in a CUSD sweatshirt, complete with wearing his CUSD badge on his sweatshirt. So just warmed my heart. I thought, what a better way to end my statement. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Yao. All right, then going on, next item, 7.1, employee organization communications. Do we have any speakers for this section?
We do. We have CEA President Kate Lee.
Okay, all right, now welcome, Kate.
Was concise. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Yao, our executive cabinet, our CUSD teachers, both here today at our board meeting, and our specialists, as well as those at home, and all of our CUSD community. I'd like to start with a short note of appreciation about the change today to the retirement incentive that the district is offering to all employees. Our 3 unions, based on feedback from our members, have been in discussion with the district to see if they could expand the eligibility for our members. The district worked with Keenan to be able to extend the annuity offering to those 60 through 64, as Stacy pointed out in her comments, and as well as from the initial offering of 65 and over. This will allow many more of our teachers who have been here for decades of dedicated service to the district and to hundreds of their students over the years to retire early. Thank you, Superintendent Yao, for listening to our members and our union presidents and finding a way to make it work. In reviewing the agenda of presentations tonight, the special education presentation that explains the funding for special education was very helpful and informative. I appreciate the work and effort that was put into this by the business services team and our business office, and that they put into this presentation. It would be great as a next step to see what our special ed total costs are in the district as compared to the revenues we get in, and look at ways, because I know that they don't match up exactly, and we have a lot more outgo than we're getting in on a special education, and look at ways that we can help with that in our budget. So I know our board has been receiving emails from our members this week focused on why the issues being brought up in the bargaining table by our negotiation team right now are so important for the district to understand and address. We will have a few speakers tonight who will tell you more about it as well. So you understand the process. CEA bases all of our negotiation proposals on the budgetary information we request and receive from the district, the responses from our members to surveys we send out, from site, grade level, and department meetings we hold with them, listening tours, and by reviewing our contract each year. In terms of our budget analysis, we'd like to understand, and I think our community and the board also deserve to be informed why, in a year of $15 million structural deficit, some of our main funding categories have had very high increases from the time the 24-25 budget was adopted to the first interim. For example, classified management salaries increased 12%. Professional services and consulting increased by a whopping 28%. Materials and supplies jumped up 29.8%. And services, the services category also increased during the school year by 19%. We look forward to an explanation. I'm sure there is one, and we look forward to hearing that both at the table and probably in a presentation here at a board meeting to why we have these large increases from the district, and look forward to discussing that further. CEA really appreciates the interventions and student supports that our Ed Services department has, and with the support of our executive cabinet and board, have established over the last few years. We support and will continue to work with the district to continue these essential services so all our students can succeed. This includes the Tier 2 math and ELD supports, the Tier 2 reading supports and interventions, as well as having a special education program coordinators to help with clerical work for our special ed staff at sites, and also having our music preps for TK through 3 and our students getting certificated music teachers for music classes. Thank you for your continuing support of our students and teachers. We believe there are also some very important opportunities for improving student success and supporting teachers and ensuring that success. Such areas of improvement include providing robust salary increase to retain experienced teachers and attract new teachers, providing additional IA support for our English language learners and students with special needs, have more support for behavioral issues that we're facing in our classrooms and on sites, more uninterrupted individual time during the 3 teacher workdays, so they're not short little segments divided up by different meetings. Sometimes we just need long periods of time, especially at the beginning of the year when we're getting our classrooms ready. Also, we really need to make sure that all voices are heard in the IEP process, and adding more additional uninterrupted prep time for elementary teachers. We all want and are here at CUSD for the same reason. How can we ensure student success, both academically and socially and emotionally, for all of our students from TK through 8? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. All right. So the next item is 8.1. It's public comments. So this is a portion of the meeting for the public to make comments on items that are not on the agenda tonight. So if you'd like to comment on an agenda item, we'll take those when the items come up later in the meeting. There's a link to a comment card on our website, so please fill that out before we take the first item. A couple of things, since I think we have some folks here. One is that we generally allocate 20 minutes for this part of the meeting to take comments not on the agenda, and anything that we can't hear within the first 20 minutes we'll take at the end of when we go through our regular schedule. Let's see, the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or commenting on items not on the agenda, so the board members will not be responding directly to speakers for items not on the agenda. And then we do have a civility policy. Just ask the members of the public to keep this in mind. With that, then, Erin, how many speaker cards do we have at this point?
We have 12.
12 speaker cards. So generally, we allocate 3 minutes, but sometimes we shorten that. Would 2 minutes be okay with the board? That'll get most of them in, hopefully. With that, then, Erin, please go ahead and invite our. So 2 minutes, is that okay?
Oh.
Or
that would be, okay, that should be fine, but we won't get around.
we won't get around to everybody, unfortunately, but okay, so 2 minutes, please. And so let's set 2 minutes and go ahead, Aaron, please. Sorry.
Our first speaker is Rhoda Fry, followed by Jasmine Sue.
All right, welcome, Rhoda.
Hi, good evening. As many of you know, the Foothill De Anza College District is intending on purchasing an apartment adjacent to our tri-school area, Monte Vista tri-school area. And the use of it would be for basically grades through 13 and 14. And right now, there's 94 homes there, and we've got 34 students from CUSD who are attending the schools that are just less than half a mile away. So it's wonderful to be able to walk to school. Unfortunately, if FHDA does take over this property, that means that not only will those students have to relocate and likely outside of our district, but also moving forward, we will no longer have that pipeline to our schools. There's no other apartment complex in the area that serves those 3 schools. So if they, even if they move elsewhere in Cupertino to another apartment, they would lose either Lincoln or Kennedy. So the other thing is, so the students who are going to be there, they will either be attending De Anza College, or they will be bused 8.5 miles away to Sunnyvale, or 6.5 miles away to Los Altos. So I've got 3 asks. One is to the board. So please, board, learn about this, write FHDA. I've already written to you in hard copy on this. It's been in the news, and ask them, please don't do this. We need to create housing. We don't need to displace people. When I voted for this, I didn't think I'd be evicting my neighbors or threatening our schools. The second one is to ask the superintendent to connect with the chancellor at FHDA and say the same thing. And to a fellow, the teachers here, and I can't turn around because it wouldn't work. So please write your union, connect union to union, because if we're losing 34 students, seems like that's like 2 FTEs, and that's not okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda.
The next speaker is Jasmine Sue, followed by Kenneth Wong. Jasmine, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Jasmine. The next speaker is Kenneth Wong. Kenneth, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Kenneth. The next speaker is Gabrielle Flores.
It's my first time, so I think
Yeah, each speaker usually submits the card. Mm-hmm.
Could one of you go have a side conversation with her? To let her, we need to move on.
We'll move on then. Okay, so
We'll have a staff member help address what her
okay.
concerns, questions are. Is she our next speaker?
Well, so you're our next.
Okay.
They did submit a card? Okay.
Okay.
So, but would you like to speak for 2 minutes? No. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next speaker is Chris Rolls.
Welcome, Chris.
Hi, my name is Chris Rolls, and I'm a primary grade teacher at Murdoch Portal and the CEA primary director. Almost 28 years ago, I began working in our district. Early on in my career, a fellow teacher encouraged me to work in support of my teaching community, in addition to my support of my students. The two go hand in hand, he explained. This is more true than ever today. Over the years, much has changed in our schools. Assessments take up an ever larger portion of our classroom time. We've had to assume a greater role in the social emotional development of our students, and we're tasked with implementing increasingly complex curriculum materials for the benefit of the child. All of this is taking place with little or no change in the time available in a teacher's school year to plan, implement, and assess the progress of our kids. I thought the job would become easier as I gained more experience. This is not the case at all. I'm here to advocate for our teachers and their needs. We need less adjunct duty time to focus on our classroom needs, more independent or grade level planning time to discuss dense curriculum materials and determine how they may be used in our new POL model of learning, and a salary increase that recognizes the continually growing burden of teaching in the present time of overcommitted students with the stresses and behavioral manifestations that result from this lifestyle. If we want education to be effective, our district needs to recognize that a teacher's job has grown exponentially over the years. Teachers need more time to think, the ability to be emotionally available for their students, and the security of compensation that allows their family to maintain a reasonable standard of living. I think these are expectations our district can and should meet. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Hannah Lay. Hannah, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand.
Welcome, Hannah.
Good evening, CUSD board members. My name is Hannah Lay, and I'm a 7th grader from Hyde Middle School. Our district talks about inclusivity, but that's not always the case in the cafeterias. Though our schools provide vegetarian or meat-free lunches, there are really vegan lunches which don't have meat, eggs, or milk. However, research shows that implementing plant-based meals into our menus may have beneficial impacts on inclusivity, students' health, and the environment. Firstly, implementing vegan lunch would be fairer for people with allergies. Milk and egg are the top two allergies, with 2% of people being allergic to milk and 1% to egg. When you add that up, that means there are 404 kids in the district who can't count on the school lunch. Secondly, plant-based lunch can benefit students' health. According to the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, vegan lunches are rich in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. When I interviewed my classmates, 80% of them said our current lunch isn't very healthy, and they pointed out that the healthy lunches included the fresh fruits and vegetables. Finally, introducing vegan lunch can help the environment. For example, the famous climate activist Greta Thunberg went vegan to combat global warming. 60% of my classmates would try out the vegan lunch if it were in the cafeteria, which would have a huge impact on the environment. Skeptics might argue that it would be too expensive, but Oxford University conducted a study on this problem and found that vegan lunch reduced the cost of food by 1/3. So to conclude, not only is implementing plant-based meals good for including all students, their health, and the earth, it's cost-effective too. So it's time that our cafeteria began serving vegan options. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Hannah.
The next speaker is Devanshi Bansal. The next speaker is Devanshi Bansal. Devanshi, if
Welcome. Ah. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. And welcome to the podium.
Good evening, respected board members and CUSD parents and teachers. Thank you for taking the time to allow me to explain why our school needs a new rubber track. Before we even start, at this point, you are probably wondering what's wrong with the dirt track we already have. Well, at first, the dirt track seems like a minor issue, but it can be a grave problem. In a survey conducted on this issue, 92% of students agree that the dirt track could be a problem. Many students have faced problems such as injuries, health issues, and sand getting in their mouth, shoes, eyes, and even wounds. You can see that the dirt track increases the risk of injuries, triggers health issues in immunocompromised students, and causes general discomfort during sports. According to teachers, sand comes into their classrooms during hot months, which can also be a nuisance. Clearly, the dirt track harms students, and now it even bothers teachers. What's the solution then? The rubber track. Why? Because it not only provides a consistent surface, but it's softer on your joints and muscles. Also, synthetic running tracks like these reflect energy back through your leg, which is essentially pushing you back up every time you take a step. When students were asked should the school fund a rubber track, the average student's answers were 4.2 out of 5. In addition, 96% of students would encourage a rubber track. Many benefits are flat surfaces, health issues decrease, no constant sand disturbance, more professional, less stress on legs. According to one student, perfect, better grip, more motivation, easier running, and it makes them less sad. These are a few of the numerous advantages, and I'd like you to think about them for a moment. Now focus on the last two I listed, more motivation and less sad. The rubber track not only improves our physical health, but also our overall mood. It boosts motivation and happiness, which leads to more energy. It sounds too good to be true, so what's the catch? The cost. A lot of false guesses and suspicions have held us back, but through multiple calculations, the price range is only $34,000 to $85,000. Some of you probably think that this is unreasonable, but the school PTSA has already raised a significant amount of money, so we're not satisfied.
Thank you, Devanshi.
the next speaker is Sanika Haraparan Apu.
Welcome.
Hello, board members. My name is Tamika, and I'm a fifth grader in Lincoln Elementary. I'm here because I wanted to share my opinion about how I believe that teachers should earn more for all the effort they put into helping us. Teaching takes long hours and dedication. I read in a news article that an average teacher works about 2,200 hours per year. Apart from the school schedule, they spend many hours grading our papers, planning lessons, and getting the classroom ready for the next day. Some teachers also teach or coach extracurricular activities outside of school, like school clubs, which adds extra to their workload. Teachers also spend time talking to parents and students, advising them, and trying to help the students reach their full potential. This seems to me like a job that takes a lot of time and energy. In my opinion, being a teacher is one of the most important jobs there is to shape the future of our world. They inspire us to grow and challenge ourselves. They promote a sense of community and social responsibility, preparing us to make positive contributions to society. I don't know a lot about budgets or how salaries work, but living in Silicon Valley, I have heard that many jobs, like doctors and engineers, are paid way more than the teachers. Although some might argue that raising teacher salaries would lead to higher costs for parents to pay, potentially straining school finances and causing budget cuts, it's important to recognize that increasing teacher pay can actually enhance student performances and strengthen the education system. In the long term, this will have an overall positive impact on society. I hope you will consider my perspective and continue supporting the dedicated teachers who work tirelessly for us by making sure they receive the compensation they rightfully deserve for their efforts. I believe that educators should be paid more for their commitment to teaching and for shaping the futures of countless generations. Teachers serve as educators, mentors, and guides, playing a crucial role in shaping tomorrow's leaders. Thank you for listening to me.
The next speaker is Elsa Amboy. The next speaker is Elsa Amboy.
Welcome, Elsa.
Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of another teacher that's noted in this letter. Dear members of the board, my name is Sonia Chida, and I'm a second grade teacher at Krista McCullough. I've been with our district for 7 years. I'm writing today because I believe that supporting our teachers is essential for student success. As an educator, I want to acknowledge there are things working well in CUSD that help me support my students. For example, the sense of community among staff and students makes our schools a welcoming and supportive place. This strong culture of collaboration and care positively impacts both academic achievement and social-emotional growth. The collaboration time with my grade level team has helped align instruction and better support our learners. However, I'm writing to urge your attention and support regarding the current bargaining process. The issues being discussed at the table are not abstract. They directly affect our ability to serve our students and communities effectively. We ask that the board advocate for meaningful progress on the following key articles currently under negotiations. Professional compensation. CUSD salaries must remain competitive with our districts in Santa Clara County. Class size. Smaller class sizes and appropriate supports are essential for creating optimal teaching and learning environments. Teaching hours. Teachers are being pulled in too many directions. We need time to focus on what matters most, our students. I urge you to stand with your educators by asking the district why they are not moving forward on these essential issues. Our working conditions are our students' learning conditions, and we owe it to them and to each other to get this right. Thank you for your time and leadership. Sincerely, Sonia Chida from Krista McCullough. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Janice Rakomi.
Welcome, Janice.
Good evening. My name is Janice Riccamini. I teach a first and second grade combo class at Lincoln Elementary. I'm here tonight to express both appreciation for current supports and to advocate for additional resources because I believe that supporting our teachers is essential for our student success. First, I would like to thank you for your continued investment in Tier 2 supports for students. Interventions that target specific learning needs make a real difference in helping our students grow and stay on track. Teachers also appreciate the music the music prep time. These 30 minutes are an invaluable time for teachers. This is the first year that first grade teachers have had the support. So that's the first time I've had it, and we really appreciate it. And we hope that continues again next year. That said, there's a desperate need for more support around the time required for mandated assessments. 3 times per year, primary grades are required to do EAT assessments, IDI assessments, and reading assessments. Altogether, these assessments can take from 20 to 45 minutes per student, which, when multiplied across an entire class, becomes a significant time commitment that is difficult to manage alongside daily instruction and planning. In addition, the time frame in which these assessments are due does not align with when the report card assessments are due. This means that primary teachers are doing these assessments 6 times per year, yet we only get 1 release day per trimester. We need to both decrease the amount of assessments required and provide more pull-out time for teachers to administer these assessments. Ultimately, when teachers feel supported, students benefit the most. We all share the goal of student success, and that begins with giving educators the tools, time, and resources they need to do their best work. Thank you for continued partnership, and thank you for all you do for our schools.
Thank you, Janice.
The next speaker is Stephen Skaroff. Stephen.
Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, thank you, Jerry. Good evening. I would urge the CUSD board to write a letter to the Foothill De Anza Community College District expressing concern about their plan to evict families of students attending CUSD schools, specifically Lincoln and Kennedy. The sale of the terrace apartment building is a terrible idea in multiple ways. It will result in the loss of about 34 CUSD students, plus the loss of additional students from Fremont Union High School District, and of course, a loss of teachers, probably 2 CUSD teachers. It will result in lost property tax revenue since property owned by the community college district does not pay property taxes. It violates the charter of community colleges to primarily serve residents of the district. It violates the spirit of the bond measure that was passed by voters for Foothill De Anza to build student housing on campus. At a time when Cupertino and other cities in the area are trying to get developers to build more housing, evicting families from existing housing is a terrible idea. Please take a position on this issue. It's vitally important to the families served by CUSD that live in that apartment complex who will be unable to find new affordable housing in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Our final speaker is Noel Bondoc.
Welcome.
Hello. I'll be reading a letter from my colleague. Dear members of the CUSD Board and Executive Cabinet, I am writing to respectfully advocate for a well-deserved raise, not just for myself, but for all of the dedicated educators who make Cupertino Union School District a place where students are inspired to learn and thrive. As a hardworking, passionate, and dedicated teacher, I pour my heart and energy into my students every day. I consistently go above and beyond to ensure that each student is not only meeting academic goals, but is also supported socially and emotionally. Like so many of my colleagues, I invest my time, creativity, and personal resources to provide the best learning experience possible. Fair and competitive compensation is not only a matter of recognizing the professionalism and dedication that educators bring to their work, it's also a strategic investment in student success. When teachers feel valued and supported, retention improves, morale increases, and most importantly, students benefit. Well-compensated teachers are able to focus on what matters most, fostering student growth and achievement. I believe that my work and the work of my colleagues merit recognition in the form of a meaningful raise. We are professionals who play an essential role in shaping the future of our community. As such, we deserve compensation that reflects the high standards and expectations placed upon us. Thank you for your time, your service to our schools, and your consideration of this important matter. I am hopeful that you will advocate for the resources and policies that allow great teachers to remain in the classroom, motivated, respected, and fairly paid. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the final speaker.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Okay, all right, and then next we're moving to the information section. We have 6 information items today. So 9.1, the LCAP parent survey results.
Right. So thank you. So this is our update to provide from you from our recent survey with some, I think, exciting news as we gather the feedback and use that as our LCAP is developed. So Allison will take up.
Erin and I will do this together and she'll get us started.
I'll kick us off with the survey results, and then Allison will go into the follow-up goals. So a little bit about the survey background. So the purpose is to understand parent perceptions of school and district engagement. We distributed the survey via Parent Square, our main communication platform. And again, the communication that goes out through Parent Square is translated into the recipient's preferred language. We have approximately 30 different languages set in Parent Square. The survey window was February 3rd through March 3rd, and our participation goal this year was to have 30% at all school sites. This was an increase of 8% from last year's goal of 22%. There are 6 different themes we look at in the survey. The first one being school culture and climate, the second one communication, third parent and family involvement, fourth school and district decision making, fifth parent and family resources, and new this year we added a 6th theme, which is portrait of a learner. So I'm thrilled to report that this year we had a 17% increase in terms of survey participation. So that's an increase of more than 2,000 parents completing the survey. In total, we had 6,626 responses, and our participation rate well exceeded our goal at 49% participation rate. In looking at the participation rate across the schools, you can see here just by the color coding, we had a fairly equal amount of participation across the school sites, which is really wonderful to see. The survey communication went out from the district level, but we really partnered with our school principals and other school staff to really remind parents to complete the survey. And I think that worked well. In terms of who participated in the survey, we have, again, just a very nice complete color wheel there on the left showing the child's grade level. So we had pretty close distribution, equal distribution across the different grade levels. And then the number of children they have in CUSD, a little more than half have one child in CUSD currently, followed by 41% with 2 children, and then a significantly smaller portion with 3 children or more. We do ask the survey participants to self-select if their child is receiving special education services. And so of the people who participated in the survey, approximately 12% of their children received special education services, whether it was under an IEP or a 504 plan. And then similarly, we do ask if their child is classified as an English language learner, and of the participants, 36% said yes. Overall, 89% of those 6,620 survey participants reported an overall favorable experience in CUSD here. So we'll go through each survey question, and the color key is the same for each survey question. So for the dark blue, that is strongly agree. The lighter teal is agree. The gray is neither agree nor disagree. The goldenrod or gold color is disagree, and then the purple is strongly disagree. So you can see here we've got a lot of nice dark blues and teals across the board. The next theme we have here is school culture and climate. So overall, across all of the 3 questions, 93% of survey participants report overall favorable culture and climate at their child's school. So we asked participants if their students feel welcome and comfortable in class, if staff value their diverse cultures and past experiences, and if students get along with each other and respect their differences. The next theme is communication. 89% of survey participants report overall favorable communication at their child's school. We asked them if they are comfortable communicating with teachers and staff at their child's school, if their child's school communicates effectively with families overall, and we also asked them if their child's school communicates effectively with parents regarding their child's progress. And so again, we are seeing some really positive results. The next theme we have is parent and family involvement. A little increase, 85% of survey participants report overall favorable involvement at their child's school. So under this theme, we asked if staff want families to be involved in their child's education, if parents are involved in the school community, and also if staff help parents when they have questions, including questions about legal rights. Under school and district decision-making, 82% of survey participants report an overall favorable decision-making at their child's school. Under this theme, we asked if they feel informed about school and district decisions. And we also asked them if they had opportunities to give input in the decision-making process at both the school and district level. Once again, seeing some very positive results here. Under parent and family resources, there was one question that we asked, and that was that their child's school shares resources and information to help them support their child's learning. And here we had 84% overall favorable. Our portrait of a learner questions were open-ended, and we asked them to please share an example of your child learning these skills in CUSD. We asked them what programs or student experiences should CUSD consider implementing in future years. And we also asked, what else do you want CUSD to consider as we plan to provide future-ready learning opportunities for students? So overall, and with the help of AI to synthesize the information, we do see portrait of a learner competencies in our classrooms, which is so amazing. We also note that parents are requesting that we continue to focus on academic excellence and rigor, as well as whole child education and student safety. And student safety categories could include anti-bullying measures, to physical safety, to online safety as well. Survey participants noted that they'd like to see the increase in PE and sports, arts and music, student clubs, libraries, and the integration of technology skills, including coding, robotics, and AI. So I did want to take a moment to share the percent change from last year's survey to this year's survey under each of the theme categories. So we maintained at in school culture and climate at 93% and 89% respectively. And then in the following other three categories, we gained percentage points, which is great to see. Under parent and family involvement, we increased by 3%. School and district decision-making, we jumped by 15%, our largest gain. And then finally, parent and family resources, we gained by 2%.
So this is part of our process every year as part of the LCAP. We're mid-process with gathering feedback and analyzing our data and preparing the next LCAP. So I'll be coming back later this spring. Of course, you know, when we exceed the goal, we want to even go higher next year. So we're already thinking about that and hoping to bump these up as we look ahead to next year and keep those positive response rates and results coming. We, as part of the LCAP, complete a series of educational partner meetings and conversations. And so we've been going through that process and analyzing all the feedback, getting lots of important insights to help us shape the plan. You might remember last year we reset the plan. Every 3 years, the plan is reset. So we're finishing the first year of our plan. So it won't be a major revision year, but we do make adjustments based on the feedback that we hear from all of these groups. And, I would say themes so far, we see a lot of positive feedback around continuing the priorities that we have set in the LCAP and in the district as a whole around Portrait of a Learner and the whole child. We've heard many comments around the importance of MTSS and tiered interventions, both academically and in the social, emotional, behavioral realm. So continuing to strengthen our work in those areas. And then making sure that as we go forward, particularly in Portrait of a Learner, that we do set aside time and develop routines that really support collaboration for staff, as well as encourage innovation, professional learning, and trying new things in the classroom. So those are some things that we're thinking about as we go into the next phase of the LCAP. As a reminder, these are our 3 LCAP goals. We're not anticipating any changes to the goals themselves because they do align with the district priorities, but we will be coming back with some adjustments based on the feedback and providing an update on the rest of the metrics. The parent survey in particular also will be a part of the local indicators requirement that we report in June. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Aaron and Allison. Let's open it up to the board for questions. Who'd like to go first? Law? Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's very impressive to see those big improvements. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. And say in your page 6, you mentioned the special ed, and so I'm wondering, say, do we see a similar response rate from special ed and the general ed parents? Go ahead.
So overall, we have approximately 8% of our students who have IEPs in special ed. So looking at the response rate here, it's, higher than that. So that's a good thing. We are required to include metrics around how parents of children with IEPs feel about certain aspects of the district's program. So you'll see that information coming back as one of the LCAP metrics, particularly around how parents feel they've been involved in the process of their child's IEP. And so we pay attention to that response rate to make sure that we're capturing all voices.
Okay, cool. And say on page 13, it talked about the Portrait of a Learner questions, and they are open-ended, and which requires people to write something. And so I'm wondering how many responses you received from these questions.
I apologize. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we certainly can look that up for you. But it was, I would say, just anecdotally, it was almost every person who submitted the survey also submitted information on the open-ended questions.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, you want to go? Okay.
Thank you. This is great, actually, and a lot of good improvement. Only one question I have is mainly on the school and district decision making, 15% improvement. Okay, so what did you do last year differently? I know communication is one well-informed kind of things, but for it to have a double-digit increase, anything specifically you think that which made a difference or which we need to follow elsewhere?
That's a wonderful question. I think on the question itself, we did provide some examples of what this could look like. So, for example, principals' copy, the different surveys staff send out or we send out, newsletters, different opportunities that happen throughout the year at both the school and district level to allow for people to see, okay, yes, I have participated in that, or yes, I've read that newsletter, or I've watched that video on that, just to kind of make it a little bit more tangible in order for them to answer more accurately.
Perfect. I think this is really great and really appreciate. Thanks.
All right, thanks. We'll have to go. Okay.
Clarifying questions, do you want?
I do.
Okay.
I had the same question as Satish, so thank you for asking that. I was curious about the languages. Just are you able to see who answered in, or how many people answered in any particular language?
Yes, we are.
And are you seeing any trends? I'm just curious because we offer these translations and Parent Square and all these different things, like how much is it being utilized?
I certainly can look up that number for you. I don't know off the top of my head, but every report that comes in from Parent Square, we are able to see the language that was set.
Okay,
So we
yeah,
could
that
see
would be
for
great
the
if we
form.
could get that like in a Friday memo or something like that. I was curious about slide 10. Questions about parent guardian legal rights. What is that? What is that referring to?
I don't know if it's any one specific thing, but it is one of the areas that we're required to ask as part of the local indicators. If parents feel that if they have questions about legal rights, is there somebody that they can go to? So it's one of the requirements of LCAP that we look broadly at parent involvement in these different areas.
I
So
see. So it's not, I guess my mind was going to like immigration rights. It's probably not that if it's like a state requirement that's been going on for years.
right, this would be referring to their rights within the school system.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Ava, please.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Had a clarification question before some other questions of my own regarding the question that Long had. And I just want to make sure I heard correctly from your response regarding if there was a difference between the SPED responses and other students. So you're saying that in the LCAP, we're going to be able to see their responses coming up when you're going to be presenting those priorities?
In some of the areas, we do break it down. We're required to have some metrics within the LCAP that talk about that. But I think in Long's question, we're just looking for a comparable representation. So if we have 8% of our population of students with disabilities and 12% of the people responding to the survey are saying they're parents of students with disabilities, then there's a factor there that feels comparable.
Okay, so but is there a way that if they have said, okay, my student is in special education, can we see how their responses
Yes.
are different?
Yes,
Okay.
in certain areas, we report that as part of the LCAP.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I'm assuming all the questions were multiple choice except for the last one about portrait of a learner. I'm wondering about overall the 2% something that's general in all categories, plus or minus the disagree and the 0.5% of the strongly disagree. Do we have, I guess they wouldn't have any space, or do you feel like the only space there was within PL, if there was any some sort of constructive feedback that was given during that open-ended opportunity?
We didn't have a general comment section, but the last question, what else do you want CUSD to consider? Some people use that as a place where they could just put additional comments. We meant it to be a little more open-ended.
Is
The last part of the portrait of a learner component
okay?
is what else do you want CUSD to consider? But we could, if you wanted us to add an additional broader question next year, we certainly could do that. Now with AI, this is the first year we've had a chance to do open-ended responses because has been really difficult to, look for themes across thousands of comments, but now we do have tools. So we certainly could improve upon that or add additional sections if the board would like us to look at that for next year's survey.
Well, I one voice, but my consideration is maybe asking something
where can we improve in those areas so that if it's lacking, like the leader of each of the sites could look at, for their own feedback, or as a district as a whole. Thank you for taking time to explain that, and like to hear that we have greater capabilities now with the use of AI. When did we start using ParentsWare?
Yeah, we did a soft launch right before we entered the pandemic.
Okay.
And then when we returned in person, we did a more formal launch with more specific training and professional development. So I believe that would have been 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking about the question that the teachers, like, what are we doing well? And maybe some of that contribution comes from ParentsWare that allows the diversity, and be good to see the statistics that Sylvia was mentioning about the language, what languages our parents are using. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ava.
President Liu, could I ask that the board members speak closer to their microphones? We're having a hard time hearing over here, and I think we're just
Sorry.
all soft-spoken because there's nobody in the audience tonight.
All right. There, much better. Okay. Oh, thank you for that reminder. All right. Okay, I'll be close. My questions. So first of all, very, very happy with the results, especially there's that one on decision making. I remember us talking about it last year, and it's just the participation rate. So kudos to y'all, and then I think I would imagine the school staff in kind of getting the word out to get people to vote. My questions are really around the portrait of a learner, the slide 13. So you've listed some things to focus on and some opportunities, increased opportunities in. Did you get any sense, are these, for instance, listed in a priority order? Or the reason I ask is this seems like everything we do. So if I were to prioritize, I guess the only thing that I can think of that's not on here is food. When I first got on the board, people complained a lot about the food. Now they do not. It's no longer on the list of things to fix. So thank you for that. But and these are I think these are all great things. I was just wondering, in looking at the data, did you develop any sort of thoughts for what you think we should focus on among this list, if any?
These are not in priority order.
Okay.
I think one thread that I noticed across all of these different areas is that parents hope that the district will take on the expenses of some of these things. A lot of these things are supported by parent donations at the school sites.
Okay.
And so I was remembering that many conversations that we've had about, elementary art, for example, and could there be a time that we set a target in that area? Parents are worried about being able to sustain donations at the school site and hope that we can bring in these things as part of the core experience. I think overall, people really want and value that whole child commitment that we've always had, and they want our district to be able to sustain that for kids more wholly. So I would say that's my takeaway.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thanks for that. Then the second question then, looking at all the pie charts, there is a section in gray about, 400, 500, 600 people. Do we have the analytic capabilities to sort of break it down? Is it like the same person that's voting neutral on everything? Is it just some people are neutral on this, some people neutral on that? I'm just wondering what's the ability of the analysis we're able to do, because I would like to see if we're able to kind of tip the gray people into light blue. If they're neutral, then anyway, it's just a thought, but I don't know what kind of tools we have. I wonder if you comment a bit on that, or maybe AI can do everything. So, yeah.
Yes, we certainly have the ability to do that. I also want to be cognizant that the survey is meant to be anonymous, and so we share results.
Sure.
Right. So we wouldn't necessarily want to.
Right. No, I didn't mean we reach out to you. You voted this. No, it wasn't that. But I think just understanding if there were clusters, certain schools and that sort of thing. That's what I was really getting at. Do we have? It sounds like we do have the ability to do that.
We have the ability to do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? Go around again, if any. If
comment.
Oh, please go ahead, Ava.
Thank you for that. Every year that y'all bring back this process, but not only that, you work on improving that process and being consistent with your presentations. It gets better with the color coordinations and the presentation itself. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Yes, please.
So I think you had 22% and you this time 8% was additional target. Now suddenly you're asking for 50% or 49%, whatever, one of the slides. Is it too ambitious or
Well, this year we had 49%. So I think, and this is the focus area. This year was 49% participation rate. Our goal was 30, but we far exceeded our goal. So
Okay.
that is our new baseline.
So that's a new baseline.
New baseline. And these are the goals and focus areas by 2026, 27. So we do have a couple of years.
Okay, thank you. That's I think clarified. Yeah.
Yeah, anyone else? If not, I'd like to, any public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right then. Oh, all right, well, thank you. Thank you again for the presentation, for the great results. Item 9.2, enrollment task force update.
Thank you. So tonight we just have a very brief update with our enrollment task force. We actually had some lapse in our meetings just because we had to cancel one and reschedule. So we had one last week and then we'll actually have another one at the end of the month. So our last couple of months have been spent with some really, really deep, engaging conversations. I truly appreciate the conversations that we have in enrollment task force, reminding that focus was on middle schools this year. And so with Leslie's facilitation, really trying to get them to hone in on what those particular areas that they want to continue to focus on, because there was lots of conversations on topics, but this is where they came back and were able to narrow down. And then Leslie and I went through the process of, does that align with the original mission? So I'm going to turn it over to Leslie. I'm happy to have her here and sharing.
Okay, it's going to be quick tonight, really quick. So there is our purpose again, and we took two items that they prioritized. And the first thing that we asked them was, if we're going to work on these two items, does it match our purpose? And so the first item that we talked about was a 5th grade exit interview parent survey. And the question was, could a parent survey inform decisions that would align with the purpose of our work? So we went through, could we ask questions that would focus on parent choice or flexible boundaries, balancing enrollment, our alternative school program process and enrollment. And they unanimously agreed. And we spent the most of the meeting actually brainstorming ideas for a survey. They are in the process. There's a small group of individuals that took all of our brainstormed ideas for the survey. They were excited to hear about some of the things that came through the LCAP survey. So we'll share the information that Erin and Allison shared today as well. And then we have 2 members of the group that we're going to take all of our brainstorm items and bring back to the next meeting, a draft of questions that they would like us to consider and explore. And so we'll keep massaging that. I think our hope is that we maybe will have an end product by our last meeting. And if not, we'll continue the work in the fall. So that was one of the items that we spent most of our time on. The one idea that came up from this was they asked to expand to a 4th and 5th grade exit interview survey. And what we mean by exit, it's not because they're leaving the district. What this group really wants to do is they want to get ideas or information from 4th and 5th grade parents about middle school in Cupertino and what are they looking for, what informs their decisions, what's important to them, what information do they have or do they not have. And so we felt it was important to get that information from 4th grade parents as well, because that 4th grade is about when parents start thinking about middle school. The other topic that they chose to discuss was middle school boundary shifts. And so what we asked them was, would middle school boundary shifts fit the purpose of our work? And we reminded them that the purpose of our work was parent choice, flexible boundaries, balancing enrollment, alternative school programs process and enrollment. And so where we ended up with that conversation was they said yes, but they needed to remember that we were talking about flexible boundaries. So we spent a lot of time in that meeting talking about where do we currently have flexible boundaries, where a parent may live in one boundary of middle school, but they have the choice of going to one or the other. We talked about our policy, our board policy that allows the board to designate a school as a priority through open enrollment. We had done that with Cupertino and Lawson at one point in time, where we said Cupertino Middle School was too full. We allowed families that open enrolled to Lawson if they lived in the Cupertino attendance area, higher priority on that open enrollment wait list. So we talked a lot about policies and what the practices that are currently in place. So they said yes, as long as they remember as a group that we're not talking about changing boundaries permanently, but looking at flexible boundary opportunities. And so they said, yes, we will explore that some more. And what they did was, because we didn't have, we needed to know from them, what information do you need in order to do that, to be able to identify some potential areas for flexible boundaries. So they created a long list of things that Kristen Ferruta, our manager in student assignment, is beginning to pull so that they can begin a process at looking at areas and numbers of students and some possibilities. With flexible boundaries, one of the things that you look at is whether or not you're offering to all, or do you offer to all through a lottery process? I know the board has talked about that. Well, what happens if you do flexible boundaries and you get too many kids and you weren't expecting it? So those are some things that conversation will take a little bit longer. And so we will hopefully at the end of the month bring back, or actually the following in May, bring back some more information. We have a meeting on April 29th where we're going to continue digging into these two items.
I would just add one of the wonderings that did come up in our discussions there is our work with Fremont Union High School District. Is there any way to, as we develop maybe some of these flexible boundaries or incentives, is there a way to work with Fremont to strengthen some of those incentives, knowing that Fremont is also dealing with some of those declining enrollments and wanting to balance? And is there so a way similar to what we have with Lynbrook right now? So what we offered to them is, we would bring what's currently available through Fremont, but as we build this out, then we could engage Fremont into that conversation. But I think we needed to identify what we're initially looking at before we go and have that conversation. But exciting.
Yeah, and that conversation also came up in the survey question, because there's a wondering if parents were to, if they're looking for something through open enrollment at another middle school, yet that middle school does not feed into the high school that their neighborhood would feed into, does that inform their decision? So it'll be interesting to see if the individuals that are creating that first blush at the survey also have a question in there for parents, because we don't know, we could only guess whether or not that they are encouraged to go through open enrollment because they know where their child will go to high school. And I mean, it's just, we don't know. So it's an interesting question to ask parents.
All right. Well, thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's start with questions. Long. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the presentation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a question about the survey again. So it seems that tonight's good topic is a survey. Yeah, for the exit survey. So I'm wondering, whether you are going to expand it to for students who is leaving our district, and especially for those who may still live within our district but choose to use an alternative school. So some school, say private school or home school. So
That's the same question actually that the members of the task force were curious about. The issue is we really only have access to do surveys to the families that are enrolled. And so
Mhm.
at this point, this survey would be for our current students who are fourth and fifth grade in the district. If they no longer live in the district, or they are in they live in the district, but they're attending private school, we would not have that information. And so we'd have to come up with a different way to get a survey out there to non-CUSD attending kids.
So do we know, say someone is participating CUSD school, say for this month, but the next month, and they are leaving, and do they have to tell us, hey, we're leaving?
We would have them in our system as inactive students. So they would, if they had attended Cupertino Union School District and then they left, they would be considered inactive students. And so but we would not, for a family that's never enrolled in Cupertino, we would not have the information. And an inactive student, we also may not know whether or not their address is still valid and they still live in our district. When families leave, sometimes we know why they leave and sometimes we don't know.
But we don't have a survey that we provide to them when they're withdrawing from our school. We currently don't.
Correct.
Don't survey as to the why.
We don't do
Whatever
an
they
exit.
indicate, whether they're going to a private school or out of the area or out of state. That's the only information we.
Okay, so
gather if possible.
Are we allowed to make this survey? Say if the students used to participate with us and then next month and they not showing up anymore and didn't give us any reason. But we may still have their, say, email and maybe just ask them, hey, are you still participating with us? And if you are not, and can you give us some information by filling this survey?
I think as we delved into this conversation with the committee, because initially it did say exit interview. And so we'd asked to have that, let's talk about that, clarifying, are you meaning when students are leaving the district going other places? And a lot of, very robust conversation, and their interest was because we're trying to balance it, middle schools, these are students that are going to be in our district. They were focused more on our current students. What are they looking forward to going into the middle school, or what might entice them to go to one middle school versus the other? So their focus wasn't on about pulling kids back from the private schools. It really is about our current population that we have and using those numbers to balance.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Satish.
Yeah, I don't have any questions and really good. And I think we are going in the right direction. I'm really interested in seeing the flexible boundary part of it, how the discussion is going to go and the outcome of it, because that's very important for us to probably one of the key things which may make a big difference actually. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sylvia.
Just as I'm listening to Long's questions, one of the, if I'm recalling correctly, the last time that you came when we were talking about this, wasn't it that the enrollment increases again at sixth grade? Like some of the students that we didn't have in elementary school or had gone to privates in elementary school end up coming back. There's like a bump in sixth grade, right?
Right. We showed data that showed that we have more students coming back to us at middle school than leaving us at fifth grade and out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think just in terms of like wondering about an exit interview for like fifth grade, maybe that transitional time from fifth to sixth may not be getting us relevant data. Yeah.
And based on Long, on your comment, we can take that feedback back to the committee as we're building out the survey and say, is there ability, could we add in some questions that address families that maybe are considering to leave versus focusing on our families that are staying? Because again, we do lose some of the fifth graders. And so it would be good to add that information. And so we can take it back to the committee as a consideration as they build it out.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm also curious about and I don't know if this is within the purview of the enrollment committee, but my sense of things in our region is that the number of children who live within the district, or the percentage that end up enrolling in our school district, is probably much higher than other districts in our region. And I don't know if there's a way to capture that or get that kind of information. I would just imagine that like other school districts may have lower enrollment numbers that of students that may be choosing to go to private schools or choosing to go to charter schools or things like that comparatively to CUSD. So I'm wondering if there's any kind of SCOE data on that or
We would
anything.
have to look at census data for the area and then compare it to enrollment would be our only way of knowing what families are residing in our area that aren't enrolled in our school.
Compare districts.
Compare
and
numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I don't if that sounds very arduous to get, so maybe don't worry about it. But I was just curious about that because I would just imagine that comparatively, given the reputation and kind of high performance of our district, it's probably not as big of an issue in CUSD as it might be in some of the other districts in our region. So
I think the other challenge with that is since the census only comes out every 10 years. I mean, it was fairly recent that it was only, oh gosh, 4 or 5 years ago already.
sorry, halfway through, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Ava.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here, and waiting throughout the whole meeting till you get to this point. I always like room for improvement. So the question on focusing on and I like to add on the +1 of the enrollment committee to kind of explore the possibility of having some questions asked regarding why one would be thinking about leaving the district. That's possible to do. That's the ask I have in terms of question. Otherwise, the rest are comments.
Okay, all right. Questions. Mine's kind of a comment too, so
It's okay.
I'll just, and then you can do your comment. No, I don't really have any questions. This makes a lot of sense to me, to collect the data. I think just building on, just listening to the discussion here, I wonder if there's a way to reach out to people who are already not in our district in a voluntary basis, right? So this is a suggestion for the committee to consider that somehow we advertise we're doing something like this. And if you have children that could come into our middle schools but are not, I know it's going to be a small number, but just throw that out there as a way to potentially catch a few more fish in the net, but just for them to consider. But otherwise, just looking forward to the 29th to see what you come back with. With that, then, if no one else has anything, I wanted to give so Ava, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I think I was trying to say the reason I want to have the data to see if we can see where we can improve, if there are things that some of the families or community members that are not happy where we can make improvements. Maybe it has to do with miscommunications, just always for room for improvement. And the other thing is with the feedback and presentation that you're doing, I want to thank you and your effort in collaborating with our enrollment committee to look at the data and recognize there are many different types of community members within the enrollment committee. And I remember last year's the suggestions that the enrollment committee came up with was super helpful, and most of us had positive feedback for the enrollment committee. I look forward to seeing their innovative solutions, and keep on hearing that there's very healthy conversations going on. Thank you.
It's a great group. It really is. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks. Erin, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
You're not? Okay. If there is anything else, then thank you, Leslie. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
All right. Okay, moving on, item 9.3. Ooh, federal dollars. Okay. What's new?
So what we're introducing tonight is just an information. We know that there has been a lot of conversations, information, rumors, stories, questions circulating out there as we are hearing about different federal funding monies. So I know that our Tina and Chris had shared it during our budget presentations, although we do receive a small portion of federal funds, it is a significant dollar that if we didn't receive it. So tonight we wanted to bring the first of a part series of budget information and just do a breakdown as to the actual dollars that we receive from federal monies, what that entails, and then some of the examples of what we spend that money on. Always keeping in our mind that if that money weren't to go away, we would then have to decide whether those services, programs, people will continue, and how do we fund those as well. So we look forward to kind of build up as we bring the adoption of the budget in June, of providing snapshots through at each of the board meetings and different areas of our budget, so that we kind of have an opportunity to dig in before we are actually even talking about the adoption of the budget. So I'm going to turn it over to Tina and Chris.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I know this question continues to come up, and I know it's kind of residing on everybody's mind. What could potentially happen with the uncertainty with the federal dollars that we do receive. So as Stacy mentioned, what I'm going to present tonight is a little bit more detail about the federal revenues that we currently receive and what we use those dollars for. So we're going to start off, we're going to divide it into a few sections. So the first section is our special education department. We call that Fund 7, but special education. And we do receive a small amount. I shouldn't say small, it's not a small amount. Overall, it's a small amount in relation to our whole budget. But overall, we received 3.5 million from the federal government for special education. So this is a portion of the revenue that we receive for special education. It's 25% of the total revenue that we receive for special education. But remember, primarily special education is funded through a contribution from our general education. So this is a small portion of what overall funds special education, but an important part. So just as a reminder, IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, has instituted several different funding sources for very, very specific purposes. So as we review each of these, I'll review some of the programs that we provide and what the money is used for. These are very, very narrow margins that we have to work in and what these programs can provide. So overall, our IDEA basic, that's just basic special education funding, is 3.3 million. I'll go through the rest of these in individual detail and you can kind of see the breakdowns, but the biggest one is our IDEA basic, which is just general special education. So on this next slide, I'm just going to highlight a few details. So for IDEA basic, as I mentioned, this is just the support of expenses of educating identified students with disabilities. That's a very, very general broad base. So we do have a little bit of flexibility within this pot of money. You'll see as we get into the next one, it's also called basic, but it's separately used to track expenditures of the proportionate share of the sub-grants that we make on behalf of parentally placed private school children with disabilities. So this is a little bit different. This is really geared towards those students that are end up being placed in private schools that have disabilities that reside within our district. So we are required to track those differently and make sure that we are meeting the needs of those students as well. The third one is IDEA specifically for preschool. So this provides funding for services to children with disabilities between ages of 3 to 5. So as you can imagine, with the expansion of TK, this is becoming an increased area where we see some needs as well. So currently right now that's serving children with disabilities ages 3 through 5. The next one is mental health. Currently, right now, this is for educationally related mental health services that are specifically included in children's IEPs or their individualized education programs. So these funds are really specifically geared towards those students who have written items in their IEPs. So this money is actually allocated through the county. Our county SELPA, which is our special education local plan area, we coordinate and they provide therapies and we coordinate to make sure that our kids have benefits through our SELPA and that they're able to participate in programs using these funds. So this is coordinated, the county helps to coordinate this. The last one is IDEA preschool. So this provides local staff development opportunities for those who work with infant and preschool programs. This goes back to the 3 through 5 age group again. And it, as you've noticed, it's specific for professional development. So these funds can be used for things like in-service trainings or staff training programs. But you can see as I review these, they have very, very narrow scopes of what can be, the money can be used for. So just as a quick recap, that's special education. Currently, right now, we receive 3.5 million in federal funds. So the next chunk of programs I'd like to talk about is what we call our special programs or what we call our Fund 8. You've heard me talk many, many times about some of these programs. So these are all of our title programs, titles 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we did have a pot of money that came through the federal government. We have spent all of that out now. So the remainder, ESSER 3 at the bottom, that 143,000, that was spent out prior to September 30 of this fiscal year. So that's done. So really what's remaining is about 1.6 million in title funding. And you'll remember I've come to you and I've talked with you about the title funding, but let's review the programs and services that are provided under those funding sources. So some examples of Title I funding currently, this helps to fund intervention teachers, school library media technicians, our SITs or school IT tech specialists, special program coordinators, also software programs, and then supplies specifically for DeVargas and Nimitz, which is our highest need schools. Title II meets the needs for professional development. So things like Future Ready Learning Networks, our Sunday coaching for special education teachers, ATSI funds for select schools, the New Hire Institute, PBIS training, et cetera. So you can see there's a lot of professional development within Title II. You also see within Title III some professional development and then some digital licenses specifically around serving English language learners, as well as EL materials, library books in other languages. And then this also helps cover the cost of English learner IAs or instructional aides in the classroom to support those students. Title III, let me back up. There's two pots of Title III money. There's English language learner, and then there's immigrant. So this Title III is our immigrant, and this is things like English learner IAs as well, and then EL curriculum, language launch, student licenses, et cetera. So these are all resources that we utilize to help support our immigrant youth. And then we have Title IV. This currently right now is covering puberty education, parent education, Parent Venture, and then Project Cornerstone, our lovely upstanders. We've all heard about our Project Cornerstone. So Title IV helps to cover those costs. So just to recap, in Fund 8, we have about 1.6 million after the COVID dollars were spent out in federal funds. Now, the next chunk I want to talk about is nutrition services. This is what we call our Fund 13. So nutrition services is a separate fund. So I want to note that this is not included in the general fund. But for purposes of our discussion tonight, we want to make sure that we recognize that nutrition services currently was receiving $1.3 million in federal funds, which is 16% of their total revenue. So the rest of their revenue does come through the state. They do receive over $7 million from the state. But this pot of money, the 16% of this revenue, if this goes away, could directly affect some of the programs and services that Nicole has worked really hard to build up. And so that could be a tremendous impact if that is affected. So just to recap, all of our federal revenues in grand total. So those in the general fund total 5.33. All funds total, including nutrition services, is about 6.6. And then the question, just a refresher, 5.3 million for the general fund is about 2% of our overall general fund. So just to recap that, that's about 2% of our overall general fund. And with that, I will conclude for questions.
All right, thanks, Tina. Let's go to questions then. Long, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So you said it's 2% of the general fund, and how about the nutrition fund? What's the percentage of the nutrition fund?
For the nutrition fund?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let me pull it back up again. Give me 1 second. Got lots of numbers in my head today. So it's about 16% of their total revenue that they receive.
Okay, 16 of the
Yes,
nutrition
16.
fund. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Okay. I have one question. Is it based on the ADA or enrollment, or is it a fixed every year, this total, especially for special education?
These, how are these allocations done? IDEA allocations done? I would have to research that.
So no, since you said that you receive so much, does it vary between year to year or enrollment based, or is it a fixed every year we get it?
I think there's categories of like ranges of numbers of students, so it's not necessarily per pupil.
Mhm.
But we could research that to find a
Yeah,
more
because,
definitive, because it does fluctuate.
Yeah.
Okay.
From year to year.
Okay, okay, that definitely,
I'll
okay,
research
yeah,
that
because
one
how
for
we
you.
are, depends upon how our enrollment goes, whether we'll have a variation or not, I wanted to know. Second thing is, I think, then it calls, this universal meal plan and things like that, right? So this is still 16% of the total, whatever it is. So majority of the money still coming from state or?
Yes, the majority of the money for the Universal Meals Program is coming from the state. So the 1.7 million 1.3 million that Tina showed is the federal reimbursement for free and reduced meals served. So first, the federal government pays only for free and reduced, not for paid students.
Okay.
And then the state makes up the difference.
Okay, so prior to our, this universal meal plan started, right? We were still getting this 1.6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the second item on there was a grant that we had been receiving to purchase local foods. And so 35,000 is what we had gotten this school year. They had already allocated a new amount for next year. That was canceled.
Okay, sad. Okay, thank you.
All right, so,
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Ava?
Thank you. Tina, thank you for being here. A follow-up question, I think just so we keep it fresh on Satish's question regarding, I think your answer saying about 35,000 was allocated this year. What was canceled?
The second allocation for next year.
How much was that?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know that we actually were told how much we were getting as a district. California was allocated a certain amount, but we were not notified how much we were getting as a district.
Okay.
But
But you believe that 36.5 will not be renewed next year?
no, it's already been
It's already
canceled.
been canceled.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was 36. I think I sent an email about this, but there was some news about USDA that counts as the federal funding. Do we know for sure that we're not getting that next year? And did we get it for this year?
Yes, we're still receiving it from this year. It's only going to be changed in the budget reconciliation, which is in negotiations in Congress right now. And how they will actually impact the federal revenue will be through a program that's called Community Eligibility Provision, which we don't run here in the district. So it won't be just immediately taking away that dollar amount in reimbursement. It will be putting additional financial burden onto the state to come up with the reimbursement, and the federal will be less. So it's not exactly a direct impact to us. It will around and about affect us, but it's not just a full cancellation of the reimbursement.
And we are expecting to learn more at the May revise when the governor releases state stuff to see kind of more updates on what
Yes.
the state is looking at doing.
Yes.
So how much would that be?
It's unknown to us right now because we're not
Okay.
running the program that they're talking about
No, I
canceling.
mean, how much of funding are we currently getting from the USDA? And is that part of the,
That's the 1.3 million that
Well-
Tina referenced, which is the reimbursement
Okay.
for each of the meals served.
oh, that's what's affecting it? Is
Yes.
the 1.3 million of the USDA?
Yes.
Okay, so all of it. Okay. All right, so I guess we're gonna wait until May revise to kind of know what's gonna happen for next year.
We might get more information at May revise. I think the federal stuff is still continuing to unfold in Congress, et cetera. So we don't know the timing on that, to be honest with you. You know what I mean?
Do you have one more question? It's really specific to the IDA Basic 3311. The examples of what we're paying, is it like non-public schools? Like if our students are going to non-public schools, does that count as the expenses under that category?
No, I don't think so. I can confirm this. I don't think so. I think this is a placed private school. I think MPS is a different category. So I think this is a private school, but I can clarify for you and make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Jerry.
All right, thanks. see, two questions for me. One is just generally how these federal programs work. Do we have any obligations to the federal government for accepting this money, other than, I imagine, to certify that we spent them the way that they want them to be spent? But other than that, there are no obligations then. Okay, all right. And then the money that comes, do we get that directly from Washington, or does it flow through the state somehow? I'm just curious.
Mine flows through the state.
I was just gonna say, I think it flows through
Oh,
the
so
state.
they actually give it to
Yeah.
the state?
Yeah.
So in theory, the state could, okay, all right, I'm
Yes.
not gonna speculate, but okay, thank you,
Yes.
okay. All right, thank you, all right. Okay, I didn't have any other questions. Folks have questions or comments, additional ones? If not, oh,
Can I
sorry.
just respond to the
Yeah.
the obligation
Yeah,
for
please.
the, I think there was some news earlier
Really?
this week. About,
Okay.
about certification. So I think that's still kind of up in the air
Applications
of districts not.
oh, that,
Uh,
stuff? Yeah, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I believe that it's being dealt with at the Department of Education, California, the state
State
department.
level, okay.
So,
Okay.
so I think that might still,
You are
there's,
correct.
we
Okay.
just don't know what's gonna happen
Okay,
with that.
all right, yeah, no, I, okay.
Can
Thank
I
you for that.
ask for clarification? I think a question was about taking federal funds, whether or not it applies to some sort of a compliance, right?
Right, like, do we have to serve broccoli every month because we took
So
federal money?
maybe
or
this is,
something?
maybe Allison can chime in a little bit more than what I'm thinking. If we accept Title I funds, in which we do,
Mhm.
we are mandated to basically fulfill all those requirements.
Ah, okay,
So if not, those schools, I think they become program improvement schools if we don't follow those federal guidelines.
Or we risk losing the money.
Or we
if
risk
don't
losing the
comply.
money.
okay, so there is a sort of a deliverable in addition to this new thing. Okay, thanks. And then Ava, did you have something? or-
Oh, yeah, I just want to make a comment. It is good to see how much our actual funding is and how much that is in terms of budget. And I appreciate the time that you take into this, because I think on a daily basis, things may change a lot, and it's good to hear that we can look forward to the May revise to see if we can get more information on it, since everything's up in the air. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Do we have any public comments on this item there?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right then. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
All right. Moving on, page 2, 9.4, resolution regarding non-reemployment of certain employees.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're bringing this to the board for information. This is something that's just been newly introduced to us and newly introduced as kind of the culminating process of the layoff process. Okay, so when we bring this forward, this is going to say that we followed all the appropriate timelines. We did not have anybody that requested a hearing. We followed all the process and went through everything, didn't have any issues with placement of people who were displaced from a job or anything like that. And then this, when we bring it forward, this will be the final notice of actually every single thing that did happen. Because there were a few, changes here and a few changes there. Some people had retired with the retirement incentive, so that opened up another job. So that wasn't a layoff. So it'll be a final ending to everything that happened during this process, and putting the stamp on that everything was followed appropriately. So it's instead of bringing that and having to go through all that, we thought we would bring this as information and education because it's new. And then when we bring it back on the 24th, it'll be for action.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bring it to the board for questions. Long, please.
Okay. So Say yes, in the form that's employee name or ID. Are those privacy information?
Well, at this point in time, it would be public at that point.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see. So we will do it in public meeting instead
Yes.
of a closed session.
Yes.
And it will show up the employee name or ID.
Well, it looks as though and like I said, this is the first time we've done this. It appears that we have the choice of employee name or ID.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get clarity on this because we have negotiations tomorrow. I can ask our attorney on this, what is the best way to go? But it'll be a finality to everything that's happened so far.
And it just goes back to anytime we're dealing with layoffs, that all has to be done in open session.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Satish.
No, I don't have any, but I just taken her as in clarification. So, earlier, you said that we were supposed to be doing it in public, but we don't tell the names, right? Still, no.
We don't initially, we bring forward the positions because at that point, we may not even know the actual person
Right.
because of the bumping rights. So we've identified positions.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any.
All right, thanks. So Sylvia,
No
no
questions.
questions? Okay, Ava?
No question.
Okay, thanks. For me, just a clarification. You said we hadn't done this before. What changed for us to be doing it?
It's a new part of the ed code.
Okay, so Ed.
Yeah, it's new.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thanks. All right.
You're welcome.
Okay, public comments, Aaron, on this one?
No, we do not.
Okay, if there are no other questions then, so is this gonna come back as action or consent or?
This would come back as action at the next board
29th.
meeting. It does need to be approved by May 15th.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. All right, 9.5, California School Cash Reserve Program. Trent, yes.
All right,
Okay.
introduce Tina.
Myself. Okay, welcome back.
Okay, I will introduce this and Tina can chime in too. So tonight, for information purposes, we're bringing forward our plan to bring a resolution to the board to allow us to participate in the trans program. This is actually sponsored by CSBA. Dale Scott's firm also is working with us. A tax revenue anticipation or trans is a tool that allows districts to borrow cash to meet its cash flow needs throughout the year. It's just a mechanism that you borrow from a pool. In the cases of cash flow, now that we're basic aid, property taxes are coming in at a couple times during the year primarily. And so imagine that in every month, there's a large expense going out, and it's mainly payroll. And then there will be months where there's not much revenue coming in other than having to wait a few more months for the property taxes come in. Inadvertently, there will be needs to we do monitor our cash, monthly, but there may be a need to borrow cash for a short period of time from 1 month until the next, until the cash comes in. So that's technically what this trans operates as. Last year, we brought to the board a recommendation to borrow to as much as $36 million. That was based off of some projections as far as our cash flow. It turned out that we didn't have to borrow anything last year. It just worked out that way. I think, Tina, you mentioned that our cash got down as low as $1 million.
Just under $1 million. We got
Okay.
really close.
So we were very, very good at projecting, other than we didn't have to borrow anything. But the trans there is in the event we ever had to borrow for cash purpose needs, and we wouldn't be going to the county and asking for a temporary loan for all that. So this is the mechanism that most districts borrow from themselves. Other districts that have other fund balance reserves and other funds also use those mechanisms to borrow from themselves. Once we have Measure Z in place, that is also another place where districts borrow from themselves. They have to pay themselves back before the end of the fiscal year. But it's just, again, a place where you could borrow where you have the funds. As far as the trans go, there's a interest cost and interest earned on the revenues. So the interest cost is about 0.25%. So between what we're earning on interest on the proceeds, the cost is about 0.25%. So a little bit of a difference. It just depends on what the current interest rate is on the investment. And so just imagine that interest will be just adjusted down by about 0.25%. That's kind of how it works mechanically.
Chris, can you talk a little bit about if we were to borrow the money, the payback, the time frame for paying that money back?
Oh, just like as I mentioned, borrowing from ourselves, the if you do draw down on the trans, the trans gets paid back at the end of the year. So basically, the interest that we're earning while we're accessing those funds are basically going to be offset by that cost. So there really it's just a borrowing mechanism. Now, if that's the question, is that if we issue any trans by the end of the fiscal year, all that trans money goes back to the lenders.
I think the only thing I would add, the only concern that Chris and I have talked about is with some of the unknown uncertainties that's happening at the government level. The state has talked about state deferrals. They haven't done them for a couple of years, but that does mean a delay in paying us for other funding sources. So that could also affect cash flow. So although this past year we didn't have to borrow, we got really, really close. I definitely think since we've drawn down on our reserves a tad, and we do run the risk at times of some of that those cash flow uncertainties, I think for the district to be confident that we can meet all of our obligations, I think it's a wise move. I also was sharing with Chris that on average, a typical month right now in our district, we spend about $22 million. And so that's just 1 month's worth of cash is about $22 million. So as you guys have heard me say, about 3 months is kind of the recommendation of what we should have reserves on file. And so right now, I think it makes a good move for the district to be able to secure that cash. So.
And then just to add,
yeah,
there would be no cost to us, even if we take out the trans and we don't draw it down, we don't use it. There's no cost to us.
All right, thank you. What's questions? Any questions?
Okay, yeah, thank you for the presentation. So yeah, I have a couple of questions about say when we do we save our cash in this trans as well? And do we earn interest?
We're earning interest only if we draw down on this trans.
Okay, so do we do it?
If we don't draw down on it, we don't generate any interest on it.
Oh, draw down. Okay, I see. So we only pay interest and they don't pay us, right?
We pay the interest cost if we draw down on it. That's the only thing we would pay.
I see. So, but say right now, yeah, I'm trying to understand how does it work. Say when we say each year we receive the property tax twice, I guess. One December and one in
different
April.
times during the year.
Yeah,
correct.
Different times. So and but we receive it to cover the entire years. And so when that means we have at some time we have some cash in our hand and we cannot spend it in 1 month. And so when we save it where do we save those cash and do they generate interest for us?
Okay, so yes, our cash balance carries from month to month.
Mm-hmm.
While we have a positive cash balance, we're generating interest. That is the mechanism for us to generate interest to the general fund.
Okay.
So we are earning interest on our own cash.
Okay.
We aren't earning any interest on this trans unless we draw down on it.
We're not earning, but we're also not paying.
We're not paying either.
It's like it's just sitting there as a fund. If we need it, once we started spending it, then we would have to.
It's like having a savings account that you draw down maybe at the end of the month to make ends meet. You put the money back into your savings account. The only cost of that is the cost to borrow from it, but then you are earning interest on what you borrow. And so that almost negates the cost, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's something I never deal with it before, and so it's quite abstract. But yeah, I have another question. Say, since we have Mayor Z, say if this year we really need to do that, and say, can we just borrow from Mayor Z instead?
So as I was referring to that, districts that have other funds like that, like using Measure G, for cash purposes, we are, by ed code, we're allowed to borrow from ourselves, but ed code also says that we have to pay it back within the same year. So if we borrow money from it, say today, by June 30th, we will have to pay that back. And so they would basically come out of the general fund to pay it back.
Okay, so it's I'm wondering, say, but if you borrow from trans, you need to pay it back as well, right? And so it will
Correct.
be
The trans is really not our money. We're borrowing it, and then at the end of the year we give it back.
Yeah, this gives us multiple borrowing options.
Mhm.
We can
Okay.
borrow from ourselves, we could borrow from the trans, it just gives us multiple options.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and another question is that, say, you mentioned last year we didn't actually borrow from trends. So comparing for this year, comparing with the last year, are we in a better position or a worse position? You have
Well, I mean, this is all based off of how much cash we have in our account at any one time.
Yeah.
So as Tina mentioned, some months we could be spending more. And when we spend more in 1 month, that draws the cash balance down. But then as new monies come in, the cash gets replenished at that point in time. So we're really basically kind of, waiting for the property taxes to come in. But if any 1 month before the property taxes come in, our cash balance, the cash could get down to hopefully never zero, because the county's going to tell us that we have a negative cash, and then they're going to ask us transfer money over to the account so that you don't have a negative cash balance.
I think as Tina mentioned too, with so many uncertainties out there with the federal government, if we were to lose some of that money, if some of it was held off, that could have an immediate impact on us that we would still need to be providing, covering those services, those personnel and those resources.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Satish.
Yeah, so is there a limit on this, like what, and is it just a money and you can use it whichever way you want? Or is there any linkage to the budget on this, like what category, how you can use it? And so is it like just I want $50 million, you just take it from that and start using it the way which we want for giving salary or doing something else and things like that? Or how do you, who monitors that kind of things? Or is there some limitations, some categorization of these things?
Okay, as I understand the question, I mean,
I know multiple things I'm asking, but yes.
Can we use any of this money for anything other than cash? Can we just go and spend it on salaries? Use that
Yeah,
as an
salaries,
example.
for example.
Well, I'm just saying, if we go around and borrow money to spend on salaries, we have to pay that trans back at the end of the year.
I think to answer your question, I don't think there's any limitations. So when we're borrowing the money, we can use it for all educational purposes that we would normally spend business expenditures on. You could use it on that. I don't think there's limitations within that. We would obviously, I think what Chris is trying to say is we would use it towards the expenditures that we're drawing down our cash and creating that negative situation to cover those costs. Usually it's not used to cover other costs. It's used to cover the costs that we're already incurring that are going to make us negative and cover those costs.
Okay, so is there a upper limit, how much you can borrow?
So based on the resolution that the board will approve, the board will set a maximum amount that we could then apply for. Then we can then actually within that apply for any amount up until not to exceed the amount that you set as a board. The dollar amount that was set here was in guidance of Dale Scott and his team. They help us do cash analysis of the district. They help us look at our fiscal year. They help us look at when property taxes are coming in, when our bills are going out. They help us do an analysis to make sure that we feel like we have enough cash. So their estimate of the maximum that we would probably ever need to do would be 36. We don't think we're actually going to need 36. It's a little bit lower number. But that's kind of like the max, so that way you only have to come to the board once and ask for one resolution.
The last one on this is the repay by end of the year, irrespective of when you're borrowing it.
End of the fiscal year. So the year that you're borrowing, it has to be paid back by the end of that fiscal year. So for 24, 25, we're having to pay that back right now. That trans that we took out for this year has to be paid back by the end of this fiscal year. We didn't draw down on it, so we're just giving the money back.
Okay, thank you.
I think so. So
I was curious about, as I'm reading the resolution, the section about the Board of Supervisors. Sorry, I had it a second ago. Page 2. It requests the Board of Supervisors of the county to borrow on the district's behalf the principal amount by the issuance of the notes in one or more series. And if the Board of Supervisors fails or refuses to authorize the issuance of notes within the time period specified in said blah, 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 then the district may issue the notes. So I'm just trying to understand where the Board of Supervisors comes in, because I don't totally get that, because I think we were talking about borrowing against ourselves. So can you just explain that?
Maybe make it real short here.
Yeah.
The county board has to approve any debt that we go out. So our bond, our county supervisors have to approve our GO bond, and when we go out there and issue debt. So this is no different than us issuing debt on a trans. It's the same as issuing debt on a bond.
I see.
It's the same thing we did to borrow the funding for the solar. The county has to approve our district's decision to levy debt to the community.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Ava.
No questions, just comment.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Right.
It's really good to hear that we didn't draw upon it last year, which means we're saving money from possible interest, and I hope we do again this year. However, if we do, at least we have a safety net. And if we need the cash due to the timing of receiving the property taxes, since we are in basic aid. Thank you.
Thanks. And I don't have any questions. Do we have any comments on public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right, and thank you. All right, and then the last one is the quarterly report on Williams uniform complaint. Short, I presume.
We had no complaints received, so these are always the best ones to bring forward, and this is mandatory. Every quarter we bring forth this information.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on this item? No, any public comments on this one?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, that's the last of the information items. So moving on to section 10 discussion. We have a review and discussion of the ELOP program. So
I'd like to introduce and recognize Derek Jackson, our director of ELOP, as he's walking up, just to commend him on the work that he's done to expand and really offer robust offerings after school for our kids. So thank you to him.
Good evening. Good evening. Every 3 years, the ELOP program must review and approve the plan by the LEA, the governing board, in a public meeting. This evening, we have added the March approved sliding scale fee to this plan, which was not in before, of course, that was discussed at the March meeting. So it's my understanding that you have had the opportunity to look over the plan in advance. So I'm here to respond to any questions that you may have, if any, and ask that we approve the updated plan at the next board meeting, April 24th, in a public hearing.
all right, thank you, Derek. Let's bring it to the board for questions. Long, please.
Okay, yeah, I do not have too much question, and so I have only a comment.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, that's it's great to see we will have some revenue that is more than expense. Okay,
It's always a positive.
Okay, it's always positive. Yeah, right. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Satish.
Yeah, so thank you again. I know we had a lot of discussion about the sliding scale the last time. So it's been now implemented, and it's been communicated and you started getting, because I see this annual projection in the.
It
little
would
bit
actually
more-
go into effect
Yeah.
for next year.
Next
So
year,
the
correct.
summer wouldn't have it.
No.
Well, different-
Okay, so this
Right.
1.365, what we are projecting is based on still an assumption that we will get that, right?
Yes, yes, if you're talking about that 1.36, yes.
So we will, when will we know? I know this is probably, this is a projection, but when will we know exactly how is that revenue going to be?
So the plan is to send the invites out to parents, right? We have to get we have to know how many parents are going to sign up. So interesting, since we sent out the notice, I think about 2 weeks ago, we've been getting hits, what I mean by emails, even from parents asking about the fees, even from parents who are not part of the program because they sharing this out in the community.
Okay.
And other parents are trying to come in. But to answer your question though directly, I think our deadline is going to be in May, late May, when we will close registration, so we can have a count. Because at that point, we would need to bring the contracts for our partners because we do our contract based on projection of numbers. So by late May, and then we may have to open up again if we have new families coming in June or July. So it should be late May, early June.
Okay, that's great. I definitely would like to see that how that, because first time we are trying this out, the community response as well as our readiness on that. Yeah.
And we can bring back in fall, we can bring back an update as to what the numbers are and more of the specifics thereafter. We've started that enrollment.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia.
No questions.
Okay, April, please.
No questions.
No questions, okay. For me, just one question.
Yes.
On the budget sheet, there are 2 items for other expenses and indirect costs. I was wondering if you could speak a bit about what indirect cost encompasses.
Okay, I'm gonna turn that over to Chris.
Okay.
Indirect.
The question is on the budget, there's an item for indirect cost. Just wondering what that generally covers.
Oh, that generally covers. So indirect costs are not direct costs, but these are other indirect costs. So, best way to describe it is it's the cost of doing business. So imagine that all the employees that the ELOP program pays for. We have to spend a lot of time hiring every employee. There's payroll costs. There is, other operational costs. So a direct operational cost we can charge there, but there are indirect costs.
Okay.
And that's how the district recoups the indirect costs.
So these are basically services provided by other departments in the district, and so it's sort
In
of an
support.
internal sort of charge kind of.
Right. And that applies to all programs. So all programs have that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks. All right. With that, did you have something?
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Sorry, I had a
yeah,
question
of
that
course.
I asked earlier and I forgot I asked it. One of them was your question about the indirect cost. What are the examples for the other expenses?
You said the
Other expenses on the annual budget?
Maybe if we
There's
could
the
put the budget up,
category.
the right, the second attachment. We could put that up, then we could
Yeah.
speak to that, yeah. I think there's one that has budget.
No, it's a
the
different
yellow.
attachment called the projected ELOP annual
that one.
budget.
So if we scroll a bit, right there,
Yeah.
third from the bottom, other expenses.
So the other expenses could be like if we needed to buy technology, right? So because it's real clear. So we have the sliding scale. I'm reading the contract, personnel, food, and then other expenses could be snacks. I mean, not snacks, but it could be technology. If we wanted to then bring in other resources, different materials, if kids need headphones. So those other expenses, and I don't have it broken down because I would have had to give you like a 20-page report about the other expenses that we did last year, but we have that in there.
Okay, so you based it based on this year's expenses?
We based that based on how we operated this year.
Okay. I was under the impression that we would get a breakdown of this. It was my assumption of what the other expenses and the indirect costs would look like. So I don't mind reading more.
No, I can do
maybe
that,
later
and
on.
I can actually take about 30 seconds to walk you through. So the other expenses could have been higher. For example, this year, we did not have the classes where we had kids cooking. Right, those are other expenses because those are not part of the contract. So when we have extra resources come in, different programs, like this year, we had golf. Right, so we had to pay for that. So that's how, that's what the additional costs to just running the program, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Maybe I can just add that, just like we have plans for many other funding sources, we are able to change the plan. This is just the kind of high level overview of the projection for next year and the overall 3-year plan. We are able to make adjustments. We would be happy to come back in the fall with a more exact plan, but I think that the purpose of this budget is just as part of the 3-year plan to kind of that higher level overview. But once we firm up all the numbers, we know the kids who are registered, we know the exact revenue that we're getting, we could bring back a more detailed budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Seeing none. Do we have any public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, well then, thank you, Derek, for the
Thank
update.
you.
Okay, thanks. All right, then, moving on to section 11, we have 2 action items. The first is the approval of the board policies, global adoption. Could I get a motion, please?
And make a motion.
Thank you, Satish. And a second?
A second.
All right, thanks, Long. Is there any sort of staff?
No presentation, just a follow-up from our last board meeting, and this would be our official adoption so that we can make it go active.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone on the board?
Just
Oh, please go
just
ahead.
to say that I'm glad we're doing this. Thank you for making the arrangements, and it'll be good to get us totally back in on the right timeline. So
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, do we have a public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Do not? Okay, in that case, then let's go for a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
trustee Chow,
Aye.
trustee Leon, trustee Manhattan,
Aye.
trustee Lu.
Aye. Right, thank you. All right, 11.2, this is the approval of the district's early retirement plan. Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
All right, thanks, Sylvia. And then a second, please.
I'll second.
Thanks, Ava. Anything from staff? Yeah.
All right, well, we're just bringing this forward for your approval. This is something we've been working on diligently the last month with a lot of patience and perseverance, and so I think we got it together. We've put it out there. We have it narrowed to 192 CUSD employees that fit in the eligibility category from 60 and up to either right now we had delivered 51 employees who are 65 or older, the original CERP. And then after we made the adjustment, we delivered it to 141 more employees who are between 60 and 64. So now the 60 to 64 employees have the task of meeting with whoever they need to meet with, their financial planner and things, and decide what's going to be best for them at this point to take the benefits that the district offers or the 60% supplemental employees retirement plan.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? I'll just start with you, Long, please.
No.
Nothing? Okay.
So I
Satish?
have one question that I know now it's since this revision happened after again further negotiation and things like that. This now 65 to 60 it was brought. I think the revised MOU is like a new one, right?
Yes.
It used to
So
be-
this is the
Yeah,
updated
updated.
Yeah.
MOU. So we're very thankful for the three union presidents where we were able to connect with them yesterday and had a dialogue with them and they were able to sign. So this is a new revised one that reflects the 60 and older and 10 years of service.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Sylvia.
No questions, just a comment to say I really appreciate staff and leadership coming up with the solution to combine both the budgetary concerns, because we have a lot of concerns about budget right now. But also combine that with a way to actually, provide an option, a really good incentive for some of our teachers and some of our staff. So just thank you for the work that went into that.
Ava, please.
Oh, I do have one question. When will the 192 eligible employees have to get back to the district?
They have to get back to us. What is
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
May
Yeah, May 2nd. So what we did is we sent out through Parent Square all the things that they would need. If they wanted to file the if they want to do the retirement, they have to file the retirement and then they have to pick whichever option they want. And then there are individual meetings. If an employee chooses to take the SERP, they sign up with a Keenan financial advisor that walks them through it. We supply them their salary, year-end salary. And then they go through all the option. I think there's 6 or 7 or 10, whatever options. And then they help them decide which one they think is best for their situation.
And we do recognize that Keenan had held a group meeting last week, the week before, for under our initial option that was 65 and older. But there is a video of that. So maybe some of the individuals that now may consider that extension of the 60 to 65 weren't included in that group meeting or may not have attended. So we did try to provide that link to them that they could go back to review, also as well as the opportunity to set up a one-on-one meeting with Keenan. And we'll continue to work with Keenan if there's a possibility that we could add another group meeting, just so we ensure that everybody has all the information to make the best decision for themselves.
Good. I just have a comment. Thank you.
Okay, I just have comment also,
I
so.
have one question.
Oh, okay.
Only waiting for.
No,
Yep.
just comments, so go ahead.
Yeah, so is there any, thank you first of all that made that from 65 to 60, that's a pretty good change. I hope everybody welcome that. But is there any other closest change since the first to the, no, other than the age change? You're the first MOU, this is the second one.
It's just the
Other
age
than
change.
the age.
The only change from the first to the second was literally the change from 65
to
and
60.
10 years of service to 60 and 10 years of service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, go ahead, Ava.
Oh, okay, for the comment.
Well, oh, wait, maybe, sorry.
No, you go
comments, comment round. Anybody want to make any comments before Ava goes going this direction? Nope, okay.
Yeah, I want to just, I think. The questions and comments confusion. Okay, I think this is great actually, because I know that there were some concerns raised that we heard from some other, definitely, staff from that. And I think this change is important. And thank you for accommodating that. And I'm sure like you heard everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And then Ava, please go ahead.
I want to piggyback on that. Thank you for the staff to listen to the concerns, to give our members more options of retirement, bumping the number of eligibility from 51 to 192. I think that goes to say how much our staff tries to work with what we have and responding to that and having that relationship with our unions. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, and it's really good to hear that this will come back before the May revise. So we'll have better numbers hearing this by May 2nd will give us some ability of our budget, but then here in May revised, it comes before then, so we'll line up and give us a better idea of our budget for next year. Thank you.
Thanks. And it's for me, I just want to express my appreciation for the flexibility in, taking input and basically growing the number of eligible folks. I think this works better. I know it's a lot more work. I see the ink is barely dry on this. Everything here is stated April 10th. So you guys, I guess, got a sign today, got in front of us here. So thank you for the quick turnaround. Just in terms of the info session, I would, maybe seriously ask Keenan, given that we have triple the number of people who are eligible, it'd be nice if there was a live session, then asking people to go back and watch a video, just, Q&A and all that. So I would almost insist on it, I guess, just a little stronger language, but yeah.
Just so you guys know, the individual sessions that they sign up for are directly based on their money, their situation. The group we talked about the benefits that the district offers and all that other stuff. I mean, it's good stuff, but I think where you get the really nitty gritty is, and you just sign up for it and it's information based upon your real-time stuff.
So everyone is getting a customized session with an advisor from Keenan.
Yeah, we had to give Keenan all of these employees yearly salary, with our payroll person had to actually go through all of them, add in the things that are stursable and persable and give them a custom. So it's, it would be great, but they really get the TLC.
Thanks for clarifying that. I just want to make sure there's an opportunity for folks to ask a human a question.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you. Do we have, sorry, let's see, we taking public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, and then a roll call vote then, please.
Trustee Zhao.
Aye.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Leong.
Aye.
Trustee Madhato.
Aye.
Trustee Lu.
Aye. Okey doke. All right, moving on to consent. We have 17 items today. Wow. Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Sylvia. And a second?
A second.
All right, thanks, Along. Let's see, do we take public comments on consent? Can't remember now, but there probably isn't any. So, all right, in that case, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Leong.
Aye.
Trustee Madhato.
Aye.
Trustee Lu.
Aye. Okay, section 13, board activities. Anybody have anything they'd like to share?
Okay. Eva and I went to, and Stacy, we went to the 2x2x2 with Los Altos and Fremont, the high school district. And I think one thing was the interesting thing is that Los Altos is building some housing for teacher and law enforcement, and so I think we should let the teachers know.
Well, that's nice. Thanks.
We had myself and Eva, we were there in the budget committee yesterday.
No.
Lot of interesting discussions and suggestions. So some are not that great, but good discussion we had. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
I attended the Lawson musical, Shrek Jr. on Friday, which was really, really great. This kids did such a good job, and just had such a good time, and the parents in the audience were just enjoying it so much. So kudos to all the team that put that together. And then earlier this week, Nicole actually invited me to go to the California School Nutrition Association's Legislative Action Conference, and was speaking on a panel for kind of navigating the political landscape with regards to nutrition. And so that was a really great opportunity. So thank you for that. And it was great to represent CUSD there.
A nice video of Sylvia speaking, if anyone would like to see the video.
Okay, must see. All right. Thanks, Eva.
Just to add on to the Los Gatos 2x2x2 meeting that I had with Young. to expand. The city of Los Altos has a couple projects underway with housing specifically for public service employees, which they wanted to encourage our teachers, so all of our 3 unions to know that's going on and that they're looking forward to hearing about public comments regarding that at the Los Altos, either the next one or the next 2 Los Altos city meetings. I think since last time we also, believe all of us, I don't see all of us, but at the CEF 5K run, the year, I guess I all forgot about that. I think that was a real success. I think that was the first time since the pandemic and the turnout was great. And I'm looking forward to see that for next year, but and be able to, maybe we're gonna run as a group, but
That's a good.
yeah, I know it's been a while since we had a meeting. And then I know that we had students from New Taipei that came and saw us in the last week of March. So I think all of us were able to see them on different days. So we were able to hit, I think, had a representative from the board. And of course, I served on the budget committee with Satish. So thank you, Satish, for commenting on that. And then I think that's, I went and see our last meeting. Oh, forgot to mention at our board events, I went to go visit Sedgwick Elementary and DeVargas during that week. So it was good to visit the school, see how our facilities are doing.
Well, nice. All right, thanks.
Mhm.
I'll mention a couple items that I think some of us were at. There was one, a League of Women Voters held a meet and greet for the electeds. A number of us were there. We really appreciate the league for holding this. It's a really good opportunity to connect with other board members from other jurisdictions. I had a fun time bragging about our portrait work and our AI to some of the Fremont Union board members and Mahmood. I think I'll connect you. They actually like to learn more about what we're doing. Apparently, sounded like they didn't have anything like that. So it's really great to be able to talk about things we're doing that we could share. So there's that. Let's see. And earlier this week, there was an art show at John Muir, and I heard Sylvia, you were there. So
I was there, I forgot about that.
okay,
one
yeah,
too.
so that was good. So it was third graders. They used plastic to make art. And so it was sort of I felt like it could be a really good portrait kind of project because it was an art show, but there was a sustainability angle to it. You talk about, so they would have whales, and I know there was a lizard, there was a leopard, and people would talk about what they could do to, to sort of help save our habitat and that sort of thing. And so I was going around, I asked every group, why did you pick the animal? So I asked about 7 or 8 groups. Everybody gave the same answer because they thought it would be the easiest animal to make. So there was that. And then earlier today, Sylvia and I were at Collins at the book fair. So we did sort of a book reading. And so that was kind of fun. It made me a little sad. I got involved in CUSD really volunteering at book fairs. I was the one that ran all the book fairs for a number of years at Lincoln, and I just kind of walking around feeling old and sad that, my kids are like not into this anymore, but it was just a lot of good memories. And then the lunch with the New Taipei folks, that was good. So yeah, it's been, I think sounds like a busy 2 weeks for all of us. Okay, item 14, agenda settings. Anybody have anything to propose for future agenda items? If not,
Okay, yeah, for
sorry,
the
please.
public comments, and they some of the residents talked about the college board, the apartments, and wondering whether that's something we can do as a board, and so.
Okay, so this is agenda setting. Are you asking for an
Yeah,
agenda?
to have maybe have a discussion on what we do.
Okay, noted.
Is there anything we can do?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Fremont, okay, FHDA, okay.
Just making an ask of the staff on the testing that we're doing for students. I know in the past we received data on what subjects the students are being tested and general timeline, but it seems like, for instance, it was like English language arts, there were like 3 different tests, and was wondering if we can get more information, like how many of those tests for each of those, and like how long are those tests take, and if they're like, oh, you can just get on to iReady or make those tests, or they have to be individually done in terms of like how much time is taken that the teacher have to do, or do we have someone that tests the students? Just information on that.
Okay, information on testing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okey doke. With that then, I'm gonna adjourn us back to closed session at 8:40.